Hi everyone, this is Kwa and this is my co-chair Kylie. We did not plan to make any more bonus episodes after our first one, but there's been a change of plans due to the fact that we just had an event that just impacted our community, and we wanted to have a sit-down conversation about it because we feel like it would be good to raise awareness about the topic and also why it's important for us to bring it up as culture chairs. Just a quick discussion warning or trigger warning would be that there will be discussion of violence and death. So if you feel uncomfortable in listening in any way, or if you're watching any parts of this that starts to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, you are always welcome to turn it off. We are just offering up some news and some analysis about what had happened. So just a quick update. A couple of days ago in Atlanta, there were 3 shootings that were involved, that involved Asian American and Asian women being killed in the Atlanta spas. And the biggest reason why we wanted to bring it up is because in fairly recent episodes, we started talking about the rise in Asian American hate crimes and why it is spiking. And one thing that we did bring up was the idea of elder abuse and obviously the reasons why it's considered as a hate crime. So now I'm going to leave it to Kylie to kind of describe her experience as an Asian American woman here in the United States, and also maybe some analysis on what happened recently.
For me, there's almost a sense of like numbness towards this violence, and it's not the same as apathy. Obviously, it's not like I don't care, but it's like for me, it hasn't maybe necessarily clicked in yet, and I'm not having, I think, the same emotional reaction that a lot of other people are having. Yeah, so we've been talking a lot about some of the comments that were made by the
We'll just say the sheriff or the police officer.
Okay, we've been talking a lot about some of the comments that have been made and some of the discourse surrounding the shooting, about it, whether or not it was a hate crime. So just for people who may not be aware, there were statements made that, this isn't a hate crime because either, the shooter says it isn't a hate crime, which I think is kind of a weird litmus test, or it's not a hate crime because he was having a bad day, which makes sense to nobody, or it's not a hate crime because people are saying, he wasn't specifically targeting Asians. He was targeting places that like made him feel tempted in a sexual sense. And it's like, to me, none of those things make a lot of sense. First of all, my general view is that pretty much all shootings are hate crimes. Maybe not necessarily fitting the like federal definition of a hate crime, but I think when you take a gun to a lot of people, there's usually a lot of hatred there. But that's, neither here nor there for this. In terms of sort of the last idea, which was, it's not a hate crime against Asian women because he was just targeting places that made him feel sexual temptation. To me, that doesn't check out because it's impossible to ignore sort of the history of sexualized violence against Asian women. There's a really long history of that in this country. It stems from imperialism, and it stems from, a lot of the stereotypes and conceptions that people in the military who were involved in foreign conflict brought home about Asian women, and that still continues to affect us today. So, some of those things are so silly, and it's just like, you hear them like, it'll be like a punchline on a TV show where it's like, oh, haha, I hear Asians have sideways vaginas. Even if it's presented as like a joke to make that character seem dumb, it's still like those things still affect us because it's like it feeds into sort of the larger narrative of Asian women, which even if it's not that like overtly, even if it's not that overt, you just see it all the time in media. For me, I guess some of my personal experiences. So when I was, I was a third year. It was January of my third year. No, February of my third year. I got Tinder for the first time. Big mistake, don't get Tinder, hot take. But I kept running into these weird, like, there weren't a ton, but there were a lot of weird racialized comments. Like, I would start having a conversation with somebody and they'd be like, I've never been with an Asian girl. And I was like, okay, and now you never will be, bye-bye. Like, and it's just like, I don't understand why, like, looking like this, people assume it's some sort of license for them to sexualize you. It's an experience a lot of women have. Obviously, it's not exclusive to Asian women, but for women of color, I think it's intensified in a way that's just so difficult to deal with and just so normalized. Like, this isn't just an issue for Asian women. You see this with Black women, you see this with, Latinx women. It's not just an Asian problem, but it has these historical roots that lead to violence like this. And it's just, it's kind of scary to walk around as an Asian woman and know that the view some people have of you could be so wrong, and it could cause them to think violence against you is okay because you're supposed to like violence because of the way you look or something like that. That's kind of my thoughts on that.
So one thing that I personally wanted to emphasize in our episode is that we know that this is a very deep topic. And again, in our previous episodes, if you're at UVA, there's help out there in either the UVA Women's Health Center or at CAPS if you do need it at this time. Reach out to your friends, reach out to your family members, reach out to people that you know that could be affected by this news. It's a lot of overwhelming news, and so we know that it is very hard to hear it all the time, especially when media is so readily available, and every time you scroll through your news feeds or your social media feeds, all you see is the recent event that had occurred. And I think it's really important to reach out. I've had a lot of people reach out to me personally, and I've reached out to family members and friends just to make sure that they are doing okay during this time. And honestly, that should be something that we normalize nowadays, is always checking up on people, because you never know how hard it is for someone to hear, even if it doesn't affect them directly. A lot of the times when you see the news, especially when it's people of your own community or people of other community members that either your friends are in, it can really hit close to home. And we really wanted to talk about this because this was one of the topics that we didn't have time to cover, because to be honest with you, we have a lot of things that we would love to cover, but in this very small, short amount of time, we just chose very broad topics. And so fetishization or sexualization of Asian American and Asian women is something that we wanted to cover within this in this episode. And another thing that I wanted to bring up on a more personal note would be like, I think we all have different experiences in terms of what's going on out there. And I think that one thing that we, this would be a really interesting kind of sub-branch, if you will, from our racism and colorism talk in the earlier episodes, would be that a lot of people in our community right now are facing different types or different forms of racism. As Kylie shared her experiences as an Asian American woman, I would like to show you a different perspective here Not as like a comparison, like one is worse or the other one is like slightly a bit better, but just to show you different perspectives, because I think it's really important that we see that not everybody, faces the same racism, and a lot of people face racism on a regular day basis, and you just never know about it. Whether you've experienced it yourself or you don't experience it as often, depending on the area that you live in, the school that you live in. But I'm a second year, so my first year here at UVA, I was getting food with a roommate at Got Dumplings. And so it was during football game season. So obviously, like, there are tourists, there are people visiting outside from town, and a group of locals who range about like middle-aged to more elderly age, was a white family. They sat next down to me and my roommate, and like, words were said. So in terms of saying like, like, very much directly looking at me while I was eating my meal, saying like, oh, like, the Chinese people are taking over our neighborhoods, and restaurants, like these establishments, if you will, have like weird or like foreign, or as people love to say it, exotic foods, just because they don't know exactly what it is. And I was extremely uncomfortable, honestly, because like hostility and things like that, it wasn't even microaggression if like people are directly staring at you. And those are the things that I personally experienced a lot in my first year as a gay Asian American. Here in the university, I love dressing up, love wearing makeup, I love expressing myself, because like that's just the best way that I like to, to meet people, and to really like, express my love for fashion. And so I've had a lot of people staring, and not good stares either. And that's the one thing that we also want to talk about, was like things like microaggressions, like as people of color, or people of the queer community, or a lot of minority groups, you live on a day-to-day basis being very conscious and very aware of microaggressions. Even when other people don't, you do, because obviously you're always trying to be careful, especially when going to places nowadays, like grocery stores during the pandemic. Like, you're like, to be honest, like, I was very afraid during the beginning of the pandemic going out, because I didn't know if people were going to, call me this and that, and because of like the false news that was being spread about what the COVID-19 pandemic was called.
Yeah, the micro, I think, is definitely getting
Right.
macro.
Yeah.
I think for our community now.
And I think it's just really important that we cover our bases in this episode in terms of our thoughts, and we want to send our support to those families out there that recently lost a loved one. I read a lot of those articles, and I know that they're having a super hard time with dealing with this, and we know that it's a hard time for everybody right now, especially during the pandemic. So we wanted to let you guys know that we wanted to wish you guys like very a safe environment out there, but just be careful, and be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, I think one thing people might sort of be wondering
Right.
what they can do, besides donating, which is always
Right.
a good step. I think the biggest thing is, especially if you're in a position of some sort of privilege or allyship, if you're in public and you see this happening to somebody, you need to speak up. The person in this situation who is being, harassed or spoken down to or treated a certain way, they're not in a position to do anything. It's not safe. So to sort of illustrate this, I sort of want to talk about my first experience with street harassment. This happened, I'm old now, this happened a long time ago. I was in 9th or 10th grade. I was pretty young. And I was just with my friend. I was with my best friend. We had a tradition of going to we would walk to this gas station after school and we would get, some chips and some soda and we would just sit outside the gas station, talk, have a great old time. And then I remember once we were sitting there and this like truck drove up and this dude got out and he was like, "Can I see your toes?" And we were both like, "What?" Like we're like 15. We were like, what is he talking about? And like there was this like older woman with him who might have been his mother, and she was like, "Just ignore him." And we were like, "Huh?" And he was like, "Could I see your toes?" And he kept saying that to like random women going into this gas station, and like his mother figure, whoever was there, just not doing anything about it. And I remember like when we decided to go inside because we were super uncomfortable, like I had my first experience of exchanging this look with another woman that I hadn't met who he had also said those things to, where we were both like, this sort of understanding passes between you where it's happened to both of you. And we were just like, what the hell was that? And there was, another girl who was like, he said some even worse things too. And it was like, no, it wasn't like that was an empty gas station at night. It was like 4:30 in the afternoon. And it was like, no one really said anything. No one stuck up for us. And like, we were two 15-year-olds at a gas station. What were we gonna do? Like fight him? And like, what was the like blonde college student? I don't know why I specified that. What was the college student who was like, "I'll suck your toes if they're pretty"? What was she gonna do? Attack him? And then the woman who had like a child, what was she gonna do? It's not like that gas station was empty. So it's like the biggest thing, if you hear these things happening, like you need to intervene, because people in these situations, we're not in a position to intervene. And that's not saying that the community is weak or anything, or that we can't stand up for ourselves, but it's when you're put in a situation like that, your choices are sort of end up being take it or escalate the violence. And that's a really tough decision to make, because it's like, you don't want those things to happen to you. That's not what sort of taking it in this situation means. There's also that story that's recently come out about the like elderly woman, I think in California, who was the elderly Asian woman who was being beaten, and she fought back and really just messed up her attacker. And if you watch the video, this man just looks so surprised that she fought back. But again, not everyone is in a position to do that. And like, we know statistics, we know it's not always safe as a person of color to fight back like that. So what we really need is allies who are willing to step in and help us, not because they want to save us or anything, but because they recognize that they have something in this situation that they can help with. They have this privilege in this situation.
Right.
So that's my thing.
And then to conclude it, we really wanted to talk about the idea that like, again, to, bounce off of your point, at this point, like, especially when it's people of your community and your friends' community, and it doesn't matter what community you come from, like, be an upstander, not an active bystander, an upstander. And the reason why I wanted to emphasize that point is that I personally do not like the term active bystander, because if you're a bystander, then you're not active, because you're just standing there, right? So using those two words seems very contradictory to each other. So I prefer using the word upstander, because that means that you're standing up for someone else. And it is scary. And obviously, that, you could be hurt, or people might not want intervention, things like that. But just remember that, like, being too passive in this time isn't really helping out anybody's communities. And when the world is already so tough on you for being different, I think it's just really important that, we all stand up for each other, and, we cooperate and work together to find solutions to issues, like the ones that we've been talking about in our past episodes. And again, like we know that it's hard. Like we really do know that it's hard. Like we've been processing it for the past couple of days, and whether we wanted to even make an episode, like would it be too deep or anything. But it wouldn't be right if we made a podcast about educating and advocating for our community, the Asian American community as a whole, and even other communities, if we did not talk about current events. We talked about the Capitol riots events, and then we talked about the rise in Asian American hate crimes against elderly. And I feel like this should also belong in our episodes in order to really bring light these topics so that you know, our viewers out there, you guys can be informed about what's going on in the world, and to really, and again, like reach out to your family members, your friends, your local community in general, because everybody needs the virtual hug and the comfort right now, especially with the violence that's going on. So we want to say thank you. This is our very last episode of Culture Shock, and we are hoping that, you know, on our own personal life after culture, that we are able to continue to talk to you guys and communicate you guys with more topics and ideas that we have. But until then, well, I guess we're signing off now. So thank you so much. Bye.